All right. So we are here, and Dr. Sue has so generously offered her afternoon on this sunny, beautiful day to join us. We're doing the cleanse, but I will say what inspired me for this cleanse? Eat for your genetics.
Yay!
Seriously, right? So I did a cleanse in February. I usually do them every season, every 4 months or so. And so it was coming to the end of the spring, and I don't know, a couple months ago, I was like, oh my gosh, it's cleanse time. And then I did this, and I was like, oh, I know what I have to do for my cleanse. And Sue will share. But so I'm so thankful Dr. Sue is here for influence on my business growing, and just her partnership in our networking groups, and just a good friend and someone that I dearly trust, and I'm so appreciative of. So we
Oh, thank you, Jen.
oh, seriously. This is why I love what we do, because we get to spend time with people that we choose and that we really admire.
Yes, for that. Yes, for that.
So,
So
yeah.
it's probably helpful if I just kind of share my story of how I even learned about my gene food, and then you could share your story about your results, and I can share my
Okay.
results too.
Awesome.
So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Dr. Sue McCreadie, pediatric physician and wellness expert. I live here and work here in Ann Arbor, Michigan. And my main focus is with children. I've been working with children for almost 2 decades now, helping them achieve health naturally by optimizing their diet and lifestyle for their genetics. And the way that I discovered eating for your genetics, or this my gene food test I'm going to share with you, is actually through my own personal experience and working with kids in practice. So genetics is kind of, epigenetics is really the cutting edge of medicine now, where everything that we do, whether it's pharmaceutical or nutraceutical, we try to make sure that it's really working and optimized according to our genetics. So I have worked with kids and trying to figure out the best right diet for them and have different tools, but then came across genetic testing. And I stumbled upon this My Gene Food test, and I thought, this is super interesting, but I didn't implement it in my practice. First, I always implement things in my own life before I implement them in practice. And I actually had a question for myself, because my health journey is long, like probably many of yours. And I have struggled primarily with digestive health and energy the majority of my life. And then I had multiple losses, miscarriages when bringing 3 girls into this world. And I learned a lot about my genetics. But I tried all these different ways of eating, and I felt like I was just trying to guess, like with the latest fad, right? So initially there was low fat in the 80s, and then we had this whole paleo shift that I went to, and then all of a sudden lately, the kind of the latest wave has been keto, right? Which is higher fat. And it was actually at that question mark, I had some friends who were going to do kind of like a keto challenge. They didn't call it that, but in essence, it was kind of that. And I thought, am I supposed to be doing that? So then I said, well, I'm just going to test my genetics and see. So I'll walk you through a little bit of this genetics, but basically what I found out was on, like, kind of, if you think of the spectrum, I always think of it like a bell-shaped curve, right? The vast majority of us should sort of be in a well-balanced diet, meaning like 40% like kind of think of it like 30 around, like 30% protein, 30% fat, 30% carbs, like you're somewhere kind of around that balanced ratio, right? And then you kind of have the tail ends. The tail end people are someone who really need a lot higher fat, like a keto, or like me, as it turns out, a lot lower fat. So when I got my results, I'm like an opposite of a keto. So I was really glad that I didn't just do the latest fad and do a keto. For me, it's not health, but it may be for you. So that's why I really want people to test their genetics. So I started doing it with my friends and my family, and then in my practice, and started really seeing some tremendous results. For me, the biggest change has been digestion still. I mean, my whole life has been a digestive story. And even today, I just get even more improved digestion eating for my genetics. That's the biggest thing I've seen. But I've also done a lot of work prior to. It's kind of like this is another final tweak on it. So how about for you, Jen?
Oh my goodness. Anybody, yes, that's heard my little story. The digestion was the canary in the coal mine. to say something is wrong with your body, you're not doing
Yeah.
anything right. And it started in my 20s, and it took like a good decade before I realized like what the culprit was, which was stress. But even then, I'm still learning like which foods are working for my body. So that's why I was so excited about this, because I've done lots of experimenting, and this validated a lot of work that I did. But then there was a clincher, which we'll talk
So yeah, why don't you tell them what that is? I mean,
about.
so one thing is, let me just share with you. Let me just screen share, because what we're talking about is a saliva test that tests can you see my screen now?
Yeah.
Okay. And how it works basically is you order this test kit, and you go to eatforyourgenetics.com, and you click on the link that says order the test kit. So you order this test kit, and it comes to your house, and you put a little saliva sample in it. And Jen did a Facebook Live on it. It takes less than a few minutes. It's super easy. And it comes with a pre-stamped envelope or whatever. So then you ship it back, and it takes about 4 weeks, and they'll email you the report. So I just wanted to show you that it's a really super, super simple process. But basically you can get that report, and you don't need anyone. You can just read the report. You can get a lot of information just from reading the report. But then if you want, I can also help you read through the report, because that's where I bring a couple decades of experience. So I always say, like, getting the report is like the map to climb Everest, but I would never want to climb Everest without a guide. Like, I want my guide, because the guide's the person who's already gone up and down that mountain a gazillion times. So if you want that, I can do that with you too. And so Jen had chose to do that with me. And why don't you share kind of what you discovered?
Okay. So I love the spit test. It reminded me of teaching high school. I had them do the spit experiment once. So I was like enjoying and like liking the process. So excited when I got the email. It's like Christmas, opening it up. Oh my gosh, what am I going to find? And you get tons of stuff. Like, this is a packet of like I don't know, like
It's like a 20-page report, basically.
yes, it's really big, and it breaks it down really simply. And I found, for me, I was more in the middle of the bell curve: 30% fat, 45% carb, and 25% protein, which is good. I think that I didn't know what to expect if I was gonna be high fat or low fat, but for me, I was like kind of happy that it wasn't like super
An extreme one.
low. Yeah.
Yeah.
Love you. I was kind of happy.
Just for comparison, mine's 70% carbs and
Definitely.
15% fat and 15% protein. So it's a relatively, and my mom, for comparison, is 10% protein.
Oh
So
my goodness.
yeah, I mean, 10% fat, even lower, 10% fat. So that's where some of us live in the extremes. And so we need to really own that in order to get health. So
Yes. So okay. So I got this thing. It gives you like very good paragraphs about each. It breaks down each macromolecule and gives you suggestions and things. And I was enjoying reading it, and I was like, okay. And I'm
and
called.
it's in normal language. That's what I like. Like a lot of these genetic reports, it's in like doctor language. This is in like total normal language.
And there is some doctor stuff when it goes over. It gives you like detailed information about each gene that it's testing for. And I love it. It's like, seems to be like a compilation of the latest knowledge that we know. So like, this might not be like the real thing that I'm supposed to do, but based on all the knowledge that we know, this is the thing. And so this is like the closest I can get for my guideline, right? So I'm called a California coastal, which sounds like fun. California girl right here. Whatever. But what that does mean is with my like protein, which this was really validating, because I had done a lot of experimenting cleansings for like a decade and trying new experiments, learning things about myself, denying it, like rebelling against it, coming back to it, acknowledging, okay, really, these are things I learned. But it did say that my protein was right on. It's for California coastal, it says like fish and poultry, which is what I've narrowed it down to. So I think that was really
yeah, it's perfect. I found the same true for me. Like, I prefer to eat more plants. I prefer to eat like rice and veggies and legumes. Like, that's my happy factor, right? So it was nice to see that was validating. I agree.
So that was fine and all good and dandy. But then I get to the carbohydrate. This is where the guide comes in, because again, Jenny was avoiding. She was like not looking and not I was disregarding, like, so it says in my carb thing that I'm supposed to have, like, out of the 45% carbs that I have, only 5% should come from sugars, and that's organic fruits, berries, local honey, and banana. Only 5%, you guys, and they gave me 4 options, right? And I didn't even see that line. I totally skipped over it, and I went to the yam, sweet potato, casa root, avocado, kale. That sounds good. Rolled oats. I like oatmeal. I tried to avoid it before, but now it says it's good for me. So I'm like, okay. But it'll give you like 5% for the fruit, 80% for the yam, sweet potato, black beans, pinch of beans, legumes, and whatnot, and then 15% for those like rolled oats and whatnot. And it tells you what to avoid. And for me, bread, flours, processed corn products. And that is what I found, you guys, from this cleanse process. Like, I already knew that corn bothered me. And I avoided it because I was eating taco chips and salsa all the time. But there's something about it. And then gluten in me, nope. I avoided that too. But so at this point, when I was coming to this cleanse, I was like, I've already given away dairy and gluten and mostly corn. But the one thing that I had not done was the fruit. And Sue was there to tell me, oh, looks like you only get 5% in fruit and sugar. And I'm like, no, don't tell me that. And I needed her to like say it's there in black and white. But it was so funny. Like when we were going over, I was just like, it didn't hit me until she shone the light.
Yeah, I always joke with my patients, so the kids in my practice, and then the clients that I work with, the adults online. I was like, I'm just the messenger. Don't shoot the messenger, okay? I'm just the messenger. Because one of my friends, she has autoimmune disease. It's a form of autoimmune disease. And I was like, do you see how the gluten's lighting up? Do you see how the dairy's lighting up? She's like, what? What do you see? What do you see? I see those red, see all that red and yellow, right? So we want to avoid things that we don't want to address. But once we do, we really get phenomenal results.
Yeah. So guys, feel encouraged. When you're on this process, you're just beginning, or you've been in it for decades like Sue has, and a decade like me, then wherever you are is perfect. And just recognize that our goal is to learn more about ourselves, to be aware. And then we have choices. Am I still going to eat sugar in my life? Yes. But it will be conscious choice. I know that I'm betraying myself when I eat it. And so therefore it's going to be like a celebration. And when I eat it, I'm going to eat it with such joy and pleasure and honor that. But then I can let go of it in many areas of my day where I can do without, I'll do without. But so it's really good awareness. There was something else. Oh, this also, which I loved about this, you'll talk about methyl, I hope, which I should take a supplement, methyl care. And then I thought it was nice. It talks a little bit about like caffeine, and it said like,
oh yes, very fun.
Even that was good.
Yeah. So there are, so there's a couple things. It's really about aligning your diet and lifestyle to genetics. And the reason the lifestyle part's in there is because you actually have genetics that show what time you prefer to go to bed and what time is the best time to wake up and what time are your optimal hours to be working. So I used to always, shocking, tell people they should be living according to what makes me feel great, which is in bed by 10, asleep by at least 10:30, and up early in the morning, right? But genetics show that that's not true for everybody. Some people, it's really, they sleep best between 12 and 8, and that's where they get their restorative sleep. But you got to know what that is, because if you're not getting your restorative sleep, that seriously impacts your health. So that's a really good guide. It gives you a guide based on your genetics, which is really cool. And then you just kind of play around with it. You kind of play around with the numbers and really see. And I definitely know and teach my children the same. Like when we go past our sleep window, that's when you're all of a sudden awake again, and it's even harder to go to sleep. And then you sleep lightly, and then you wake up and you're tired, right? That's because you've missed your window. There's also a section in there on caffeine. So I do love my morning cup of coffee. And, but it also tells you kind of your caffeine tolerance. So a lot of people, when they drink caffeine, they're jittery. And the reason is why? Because of their genetics, right? And some of us can drink, 2 cups of coffee and it's no big deal. Most people like to deny that they can. Some people like to drink coffee before bed. And I always say, even if you can drink coffee before bed and fall asleep, you shouldn't, because you're not getting in, you're likely very not like getting into deeper sleep stages of sleep. So that's still avoiding that after 2 p.m. The other thing is, the last pages of the report are filled with genetics. And so what Jen was referencing is methylation genetics. And that's a whole category of methylation. You can think of as adding methyl groups, and methyl groups don't really mean anything to you or I, but you can think of them like cash, like your bank account needs positive cash flow and your body needs positive methyl flow. And with these methyl groups, we go on to support our immune system and our digestive system and our brain, right? So they help us detoxify our bodies. So a lot of people read this report and it says methylation is okay, but when you look at the base of the report, the methylation is not okay. And that's just where clinical experience comes in, where I can link your current symptoms to methylation problems and say, don't you see, here are the methylation genetics, and then we can overcome that through supplementation. So that's just kind of like the finer art of looking at the report, but you can learn a ton on your own. So I really encourage you. I'll just screen share real quick if that's okay, Jen. Where to go?
Awesome.
Yeah. So you go to eatforyourgenetics.com. You can just put eatforyourgenetics.com in and it'll take you to this page. And then you just click on this link here and it'll take you over to where to order the test. And it's a super simple process. You'll read Tracy's story here. Tracy's story is unbelievable. She called me within days, and said, I don't believe this. Could this be real? She was a methylation issue. It was a methylation issue, and it's real, people. So you just want to order your DNA test kit. And then if you want my help, click here and you can schedule a consult with me, and then we'll get to work to align your DNA and lifestyle with your DNA to achieve vibrant health.
Yeah.
That's the goal.
And it's so fun, you guys. I don't know about you, but I just get so excited about self-discovery. It's that
yes.
Know thyself. It's just another layer that can help us make
It's so empowering.
Yes.
It's so empowering. And that's why I love this test, that you can order it without a doctor. That's why I'm like, shout it to the world. Everybody needs to know. Go get this test.
Needles. There's no needles either.
Yeah.
Just fit in this little tube.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Jen, for letting me share my passion for eating for your genetics.
And I wanted to ask you, I have another question for you, but another thing that it gives you is like a diet plan, optional diet plan, which is helpful, right? If you haven't had a lot of practice, like exploring your body and how things work, then you might not know, and this might be really different than where you're at. And so that's super helpful too. This is another like long thing that they give you. It's like 16 pages and talks about stuff and gives you like a 2-week plan.
Yeah, and if you're like me and don't like cooking,
I know. I'm kind of like that too. I like eating, but
I like eating. I don't really enjoy the kitchen. But what's great about that is once you get your kind of genetic type, you can go to a service like we love, Green Chef. Green Chef is a meal delivery service, and they're great at, you can do paleo, you can do pescatarian, you can do gluten-free, you can do vegan. So you can really adapt it. And that's been a tremendous help for me, because at first I was really eating a balanced meal type. And at one time I was really low carb. So to shift all the way to go to 70% carbs, I remember texting my friend, like, what do I eat? Like, how do I get there? So there's always tools. And that's a great tool that we love, is Green Chef.
I love that. Green Chef. I actually have a neighbor too who does like healthy meal prepping. She came to our group. Do you remember her? Were you there yet? You might not have been there yet.
I don't think so.
Invite her again. Maybe she'll come back. But yes, I feel like at this day and age, it's kind of like when the first time somebody has somebody come in and clean their house, it kind of feels like awful. Like you're maybe like, I should be cleaning my own house.
Right.
Totally fine if you love cleaning. Some people love cleaning, and that's great. But some people are like, I'd rather spend my time doing something else. This is one of those things. Like if I can better serve people, or even myself, by having somebody else prepare a healthy meal for me, and I know that that's the way I'm going to get my nutrition in, then go for it with like open arms. It's an investment well worth your while. And this is kind of where like Sue and I can work together. We haven't really talked a whole lot about it, but let's say you get this, right? And you're ready to change your life, and you're like, I have some habits to change. That's where health coaching comes in, like
totally.
I'm using these ninja health coaching tricks on myself to get this stuff down, right? And like taking myself off of fruit for this week, that's huge. And my roommate will be like, she doesn't really care so much about fruit, but she knows like I can take the fruit down. That could be like half of my produce or more. It's just more than half my produce. So if you're feeling like, okay, now what do I do? I've got all this great information from Dr. Sue. How do I, I don't know where to start, like she was saying, that's where I come in. And like one of the 3 pillars of my program is finding the right foods for your body. And this is like the key. So then how do we implement and make it so that that's who we are? We eat those foods now. We don't have to think about it, or we have the recipes in our head. Like, how do we get there? How are we managing the grocery store? How are we feeling before we eat? So
that's
all a journey, guys.
It's so true. And I see that a lot in my practice. People will get tripped up that way, or even with the clients that I work with online. That's why I'm so grateful for people like Jen, who really like bust through on the mindset and really help us overcome it. Because as they say, the only thing that's preventing you in this case for eating for your genetics is right here.
Yes.
It's right here. This is what you have to overcome, the things that you tell yourself every day, right? So that's where Jen comes in, and I'm so grateful for you. Thank you.
And the good news is it's doable. You can. Like, it feels like I've tried everything and I don't know what to do, but you can. It's doable. We just got to work with the brain. But there's something I wanted to ask you, something at the end for sure, but maybe you could just go quickly through, like, what are some symptoms that somebody would be experiencing to know that they're not eating the right foods for them?
Oh, well,
like,
just
who would really?
I mean, I just think about my practice, right? I mean, I think about if you're, having allergies or asthma, or for your brain, attention, focus, foggy mind, difficulty sleeping, anxiety, depression, your gut, digestive, bloating, constipation, diarrhea, difficulty eliminating, skin, rashes, chronic rashes that won't go away, right? Energy, hormone balance, energy is a big thing, like sustained energy, your good, adequate sleep, right? I mean, pretty much anything, you can, nutrition is foundational. So you can always go back to the nutrition piece and really, fine tune that some more to get some better results. For adults, it's, sticky pounds for sure, not sustained energy, poor sleep. Those are the big ones. That I see adults struggle with.
Okay, that's fantastic. And
autoimmune disease. I mean, there's so many.
Yeah. And I love that you mentioned that you can feel results within days. It doesn't have to be like our body is that quick.
Our body is really that quick when we get on, and I can feel the same. Like, there's key supplements that I use, and if I get off my key supplements and I'm like, oh, like I ran out of one, and I just put it off, reordering, put it off, and then I'm like, oh, why did I do that? I'm the struggle boss.
I know. So, and I'm like, oh, I'm really glad it actually gave me the opportunity to recognize and have more appreciation for like the support that we do have.
Yes. Yes. For sure.
So I can tell like how passionate you are. I'm just curious, like, what's your favorite thing about helping people through this? And what do you feel? What's like?
Oh my gosh, I get goosebumps. I mean, like, I live for helping people heal and break through to live into their full potential, because it's not just really about health. Like, health, it is, for me, that's kind of how I entered into all of this. But when you're happy and when you're healthy is when you can realize your full potential. It's when you can be, do, and share and give with everybody that you're supposed to do. For me, I'm a, spiritual centered person. So I'm like, it allows me to be God's servant here. That's what I'm here to do, so that's what it is to me. That's why I get so fired up. We can't do that if we're tired and groggy and mentally foggy and all that stuff. We can't, be, do, and give in the world like we're supposed to unless we're healthy. So that's what it's about for me.
Thank you. And I didn't know what you were going to say, but this is why we are so close, because we are so aligned. Like, that's the whole purpose of my work as well, through different avenues, and we fit together, but it's to help people feel their best so they can do what they came here to do.
That's right.
Okay.
So beautiful.
Amen. Yeah. Amen. Hallelujah. One thing else before we leave, during this strange time, things are kind of being turned upside down, and we have opportunities to have our patterns interrupted, like out of our control. Hi, cutie.
Do you want to put your face in there and say hi?
Hi, what's your name?
This is Addison.
Hi, Addison.
Now. She can just
she can't hear. Well, that's a lovely thing to share this screen with. So as if you have an Addison in your life, you should, and they have a problem, make sure you see Dr. Sue.
That's right.
You want in your life caring for them. Okay, so I was wondering during this strange time, like, what do you do for self-care? It's one of my favorite things to talk about. What's your favorite
I
thing?
know you love self-care. I am a lark, so genetically, so I get up early and I get up before the rest of my family and I'm by myself. And in that time by myself, I'm drinking a cup of coffee. I'm reading some self-development books, or taking self-development courses, because growth makes me really happy. When I'm growing, I'm happy. And I incorporate meditation in there somewhere, and movement. So before I even see my first patient or, start my day at home or with these guys, I'm doing all of that before.
I love that. I too have a really strong morning routine, and I noticed like my alarm didn't go off. Usually I haven't been using my alarm, but I actually set it for our first day of this cleanse, and I was like waiting for it to go off. I was sitting there lying in bed. I was like, oh, I'm glad I'm just lying here waiting. And then I actually looked at it and it was like 7:30 and I was supposed to get up at 6. And I was like, that's not fair. I don't know what happened. I got a new phone that day, everybody. You remember it was a weird crackly sound?
Yes.
So but it was a rough day. It was a rough day without having that self-care piece that I usually am able to indulge in and like give myself. But really it's not an indulgence. For us, it should be. I'm hoping that this time shifts it around to be like, it's a necessity, not a luxury. We need to take care of ourselves. So
yeah, when we don't, we can't give to others. And that's what I always remind. I got to fill myself up first, put your oxygen mask on first before you put your oxygen mask on others.
I love that. I love it. Well, I am so blessed, and I've known you for we've been working closely more than a year now. I've known a little bit longer than that, and I'm just so thankful that we can honor your work here and spread your gifts, your magical gifts. And is there anything else that we can do to support you in sharing your gifts? I know you gave us like how to get there. We'll put some links in there. But
yeah, just really go to eatforyourgenetics.com and reach out to me if I can be of service. On that website, you'll see all my contact info. So reach out to me. I'm here to serve and help you live, like I always say, help you live your best life. And like Jen says, be your best self, right? Best self with Jen Sprague. I love you, girl.
I love you too. Thank you so much, everybody. And if you have questions, we're here. Have a good day. And I don't know, how do we end? Just push end? Okay.
Yeah, you just push end.
Okay. Bye-bye.